Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect to database using PHP. PHP uses MySQL, so connecting to database of MySQL using PHP. Well, I have created a database here. It is the name of my channel Codeworks, and I have created a user specifically for this. And as you can see here, there is no tables at this moment. We'll be creating tables later, but first of all, let's see how to do this. Okay, the approach of this video is going to be a bit different from the other videos you have seen so far. What what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how you can get the code to connect to database or anything, and then modify it according to your needs. Because let's be honest with you, there are thousands and thousands of codes out there. Like, it's not possible for anyone to remember everything. So one option is to try to write down, but then also there's so much to write down. You can't really remember everything. So the best option is, what most developers do is they google the things which they need. So I'm going to do just that. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to get the code that connects to a database. So simply write this down: php connect to database. The first option which comes, the this one, I don't really use this one. I really like the w3 schools example, so I'm going to go with this. This website actually gives a lot of material, and most of them are very accurate, and most of them work. So I just use this whenever it's possible. Like, sometimes the things which we are looking for, they're not available here. So for those cases, stack overflow or coda gives us the answer. But for the basic parts, this website w3 schools is perfect. I will use mysql because it's object oriented and I like object oriented. So this is the example: mysql object oriented. This is the code to connect to a database using php. I hope I'm audible. I hope the sound okay. I'm audible. So let's copy this code and oops, and let's paste it in our source code. So this is the code copied straight from w3 schools and pasted in our source code. Well, I have set up a server here. I'm using uwamp server, which is this one. And yeah, I'm using uwamp, and for the text editor I'm using sublime text editor. And this is the source code directly copied from w3 schools. And now let's try to run this file. This is the web page opened, and let's refresh it. And as you can see, there's an error. It says access denied for username at localhost. That's because the username and password that's given in w3 schools won't be matched with your username and password. The username and password which you have to provide is the username and password you used to set up a user account to a database. So in my case, the server name is localhost, is same. The username is codeworks. The password is again codeworks. This is only for my case. Excuse me, this may not be your case. Your username may be something else and your password may be something else. For example, in my main server, like the one which I have running the Tinker project, there the username is something like codeworks, then some random numbers. And the password is generated by the website, our website provider, and they've generated random bits. And so your username and password will be different. And if you're using um, zamp or wamp, it may be username may be root and password may be null. Null means nothing, like this one. So it really depends on your username and your password. You have to find that out. So now let's try to run this code. It should be running, and it says connected successfully. What this means is the application can now connect to a database. Okay, so let's see what this code does. It says server name is equal to localhost username, code works, password, code works. Now if you are used to PHP, you will know that dollar server name is actually a variable. Similarly, dollar username variable, dollar password also a variable. Now it says create connection, dollar connection. This is an object, and my this if you don't know about the PHP classes, it will be a bit difficult for you. But I'm going to try to um, explain to you what this actually means. There is a class somewhere defined. The class name is mysqli, and what you do is you have to create an object of this class having passed these three variables as parameters. So we have to create an object of mysqli class with these parameters, and the object will be created and stored in the connection variable. So we have to create an object of this class, and it will be saved in the connection variable. Again, this is just a variable. It's a variable name, and this can be anything. This can be connection, this can be your name, this can be code work, this can be really anything. But these parts, this has to be same. Like for example, new has to be spelled new and mysql has to be spelled mysqli because it's a class. And these again, these are the variables like server name, username, password. This has to be these three. So this will okay, what will this line do? This line will just create an object. After you execute this line, you're not guaranteed that you are connecting to your server. What this line actually does is it just creates an object. Now to actually create to the server, sorry, to actually connect to the server, you have to execute these lines of code up to here. What does it say? If connection connect error means the connection has failed, then it will print connection error, else it will go connected successfully. So what this actually means is after you created this object, it has somehow established a connection to the server, and after this line is executed, it will check if there was any error connecting to the server. So when I said that after this line executed, it's not guaranteed that you're connected to the server, well, I made a mistake there. What it actually does is it actually connects to the server, and if there is an error, then with this you can get the error. So what is this? This is actually connect error is actually a variable in the mysqli class, and connection dash arrow connect error means it will get that variable from the connection object. So if there is an error, then that means an error has occurred. So it will print that there's an error, else it will say connected successfully. That's what this code does. Now let's try to do some real things like inserting data and creating tables and all this thing. Okay, one more thing is if you are really building code which you want to deploy to your server, chances are there will be hackers and all types of people who will be coming to your server to exploit your code. So the best practice is to define these things as constants, because the server name, the username, the password, won't be these won't be changing for a particular server. This will be constant, so this won't be changing. So it's better to define them as constants. So how to define something as constant in PHP? Same thing, just Google it. PHP constant, as simple as that. Now let's open the first link, and it says to define something as constant, this use this line: define variable name, then what has to be there in the variable. So let's do this. Define name. For name, I will be putting name. The value is going to be localhost. Okay, let's try with only one at this moment, and then let's extend this to everything else. So instead of dollar server name, we will write server name. This will work. First, it's saying define greeting, then the text here, then echo greeting. So same thing, define server name, then the content, and here are the server name. So let's see if this works or not. Let's refresh it. It's just working. So it's all right. Now same thing with the other ones. Define username, and for the value it is code works, and same thing for the password. Define password value code works, and let's remove this line because we don't need this anymore. So server name, then username, and then password. We should do. Let's refresh and see. Okay, it's connecting successfully, so there's no problem with our code. Okay, now another best practice which tells us is we should write the code to connect to a database in a separate file, and wherever we need it we um, call it, we import it, or we borrow it. So this is what they say, this is the best practice says. And for that, what we have to do is, let's make another file. Let's name it as connect.inc.php, and let's, okay, 1 minute, I will be back in just 1 minute. All right, I'm back. I got a phone call which I really did not have to attend, but anyways, duty calls. Okay, so where was I? Okay, okay. We have to copy this code and put it in another file, and let's read everything from this file and save this file, the new file connect.inc.php, and save the index.php. Now let's try to refresh the page and see what's going on. As you can see, there's nothing here. Why? It's because in index.php there's nothing here. In index.php there's no code, so nothing's getting printed. That's pretty obvious. Now what we do is we have to import the file, we have to require the file, to include the file. So there are two ways of including files in PHP. Oops. Yeah. One is require, connect .inc.php. Let's see if it works. As you can see, it's working. Another way is instead of require, we can do include. There's a difference between require and include, but both work successfully. The difference is include means it will just include the file, and if the file does not exist, then it will not throw an error. But if you are using require and the file does not exist, it will definitely throw an error. Now, our index of PHP, it is supposed to do something based on the database operations. So we must write require here, because logically if you're thinking, the application should not be running if it cannot connect to the server, or there's some error like that, so it will use require. So we have the object now to connect to the server. Now let's see the code to actually do some operations. So PHP SQL operation, let's see what comes. If it does not come, we'll just change the search keyword and all. No SQLi function. Let's see if this works. There's a lot of interesting function. As you can see, this rollback is very interesting because as you can see in the description, it says rolls back the current transaction for the database. It's actually very interesting because if you study database in your semester or some other course, you will understand transactions and what rollback actually is. So it's very interesting, this thing. Rollback is very interesting. Ping a server connection or tries to reconnect connection has gone down. It's a very nice thing actually. Okay, now let's try to do something. What I want to do is I want to create a table in PHP. So PHP create table. Like our database at this moment does not have any table. I can create a table from here, but let's try this via code. So PHP create MySQL table. So this is the MySQL command, database command to create a table, but we'll be trying to do the same thing with PHP. So up to this is okay. This is creating a connection. We already have the connection. Now this is the SQL command to create a table. Then this is the actual thing which we need. Connection query SQL. This equal to true. Sorry, else. Okay. At the end to close the connection. So we saw the code. Now let's copy this part. SQL to create table. Paste it. So if we run this code, the connection object exists, the con object exists from here because we are requiring it, and this will create a table with the name my guest having what's the name, id, having id with type int of 6 character, unsigned auto increment means every time id will be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and id will be set as primary key. Then there is going to be another column, first name is going to be of type varchar, and 30 character, not null means that column cannot have a null value. Then another column is last name, varchar 30 means the it's of type varchar and it has 30 characters. Again, not none means it cannot have a null value. Then email, again varchar 50. Okay, varchar 50 means it can contain at most 50 values, 50 character. It can be 50 character wide, and it can be null because there is no not null field here. Then registration date, this is another column and its type is timestamp, so sort of timestamp will be generated and put in maybe. Okay, timestamp means I will show you timestamp, but for the time being let's remove this because to insert means for demo inserting into the table, this will be a problem. So let's remove this at this moment. So our table will contain id, first name, last name, and email. This is good, I guess. This is more or less what you need for most projects. I mean, at least for demo applications. Anyways, Then connection query SQL, this will execute the query, and if this query is equal to true. Okay, the difference between double equal to and triple equal to, just google it, you can get the answer. So if this is true, means this connection, if this query has executed successfully, then create table, then table my guest has been created successfully. Another way of doing this is just remove this thing completely. And what this means is essentially it means the same thing, but if you're a beginner you should probably keep this because it is more obvious if you see the triple equal to then true. Okay, so this will create the table, and if there's an error this will display what the error is. So let's try to run this code, and let's run it. It says error creating table, no database selected. So we forgot to select a database. Okay, so now let's go back to the source code which we copied, and as you can see here, okay, in the connection object we have to pass in the database as well, that database name, which we did not pass at the moment of creation. As you can see here, we are not pass the database here. So let's pass the database at this, let's pass to the database now. So define name is db name, and the value is again codeworks. This is the database name codeworks, so the name is codeworks, and then here db name. As you can see, you need not memorize everything. You can just go back, see the concept, see the code, and just put it in. Like there's no need to memorize everything. But having said this, it's also true that if you are practicing this for a few days, like if you're on this project for a week or so, after 1 week or after 15 days, you may not need to see the code. You will just remember it. So for the timing, if you don't remember it like me, just see the code. It's all right. So let's everything's saved. So let's try to run this again. Okay, it's taking some time. Maybe screen database now. Okay, it says connected successfully. Table my guest created successfully. Okay, so the table is created successfully. Let's try to refresh this and see. Let's do something because connected successfully. Can give a line break here also. As you can see, my guest table has been created, and this is the structure. This is a structure ID, which is primary key, auto increment, then first name, last name, email, varchar, email, sorry, 50. Okay, so we created a table. Okay, now let's try to be a little more professional with our approach. Instead of creating something like this, let's do something. Let's wrap this code in a function, and let's name the function create table. And yeah, so everything which you have written, the code to create a table has been wrapped in this function. Well, this is the purpose of function. So if you're new to PHP, well, this is sort of a extra bit of information which you are getting. So this is a use of function wrapping code in a particular block, as you can say. Then the approach of writing function. So how is function written in PHP? Very simple. Again, google it, PHP function. The method of writing function is function, then function name, then the code. Very simple. So function, if you end of the function, then function name is create table, and then the code. The code is this which you have written. Now let's try to indent things a little bit. because I like keeping things indented. And else part and the space here. Okay, things are not really very good. They're really indented that great, but it will work. So what this means is we're calling this function create table, and this function is defined here, function create table, and all the code to create a table is written here, and we have to call this function, and this function will get executed. But now at this moment, if you think about this table is already created. So if we try to run this code again, there should be an error. There should logically be an error because this table already exists. So let's see what happens. Let's refresh this. As you can see, connected successfully, but undefined variable con in line 22. What's the problem here? Line 22 undefined with, oh, now there's a problem with this, and the problem is uh, like this is a practical problem which you will be facing if you are uh, doing this coding. Well, the variable con is available in this scope but is not available here. So what you have to do is just pass this variable here and just pass it here. So like you need a little bit of PHP concept for this. This is like variable passing, and just passing this variable, and it will be taking this variable and using it. So it's a copy of con which is using, I mean, if I have to explain this, it will take some time, and the purpose of this video is to explain MySQL connection in the best possible way, and so I will skip this part at this moment. Okay, error creating table my guess already exists. So this is what we expected, and logically this should happen, and logically it's happened. So everything is working perfect. So we cannot create the table at this moment because it's already created. So let's comment it out. Okay, now our table is already created. Now it's time to, let's say, insert some data to the table. So let's call a function insert data, and then it will take in the connection variable and some data to be inserted. What are the fields of um, the table my guest? The field are ID, first name, last name, email. ID will be auto-incremented, so let's not bother with it. And first name, let's say it's code, and last name is works, and the email ID is codeworks 0301 at the rate gmail.com. And this really distracting sound out there, and I don't know, it's Independence Day, so everyone should be taking a break today, but still. Okay, so let's get the function insert data. We'll be taking in four arguments. The first one is connection variable, the second one is first name, the third one is last name, and then email ID. So anyway, now at this moment I assume that you already know databases a little bit. So the insert function the insert, the code to insert data in a database should be familiar to you, but if not, um, I suggest you go through that first because I'll be using a lot of database concepts here. So SQL is equal to, this is SQL query basically, insert, but it's wrong. The problem, insert, anyways, insert into my guest, insert into my guest values, then keep the first one as it is because it's going to be auto incremented. Then the second one is going to be f name. Third one is going to be l name, and fourth one is going to be email. And let's execute this. So this is the code to execute a query, and let's execute it. And if it is successful, then we to write successfully inserted data in the table. Error inserting data in table. Let's run this, and I hope it works. On this connector successfully error inserting data in table, you have an SQL error. Check the manual that corresponds to your Mysql server version blah, 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 at line 1. Right syntax to use near@gmail.com. Let's do something instead of writing this. Let's omit this at this moment, and let's see if it works or not. Oops. See if it works or not. Unknown column uh, in field list. Okay. What does this mean? Okay. Let's do something first. Let's remove this code because it's irritating now. We know it's working, so we don't need this anymore. Okay, now what I do is if I cannot figure it out, what is the problem? Just do something. It's very useful if you're using PHP admin. Just go to SQL and do something here. Remove all this and right and click on this insert. So insert into my guest ID, first name, last name, email, values, then the values. Well, let's put in some values here and let's see if it works. Okay, id we need not um, it has to be auto implemented. The first name, let's say mm, first name, and then the last name, then the email id, that is codework0001 at the rate gmail.com, and let's see if it works or not. Let's hit go. Okay, one row inserted, insert row id one. Okay, so what we get here is we get the, yeah, create PHP code. So we get the corresponding PHP code from here. So this is something which is still useful, and let's see if this works now. It's this, and let's see if it works now. Error inserting data in table. You have an error in Excel syntax. This is the manual. But sometimes you do find yourself in situations which you don't know why or where the error is coming from. So finally, it got inserted in the table properly. Let's see the data. So there should technically be two instances. First, because one from the SQL here, the PC my admin, and second from my code. So if I run this again, there should be another data inserted in the table, and it's 3 now. And I hope it's still recording. And yeah, it's recording. So so now let's try to change the things, like instead of first name last name and hard coded things, we get the f name l name. So let's see if it works. Dollar f name, and let's try to run this. Okay, let's refresh this, and we're getting our first name. So yeah, I think we can get this done. So put in the variable here, and instead of this put in email, and let's see if it works now. Okay, I think it's working. Yes, code works, and code was 0001 at the rate gmail.com is not coming. Let's see why this is not coming. Okay, you have to change this as well. Now let's see if it works. Working. Yeah, it's working. So as you can see, like, again, you need not remember everything. You can just read the error and figure out where you're going wrong. I'm a proof myself. I did the mistake. I don't really know what mistake I did, but I think I can guess what mistake I did. The mistake is insert into, then it's better if you put this in the tilde sign, the table name, and the first name, last name. Okay, what this means is insert data in only these fields. This is the best way to do this. As you can see, as you saw, there was no error at this moment. So this is one approach to insert things, insert data to a table. Now let's try to insert something else. Let's say code 1 2 works 3 4, and let's keep the email ID same because it's only email ID I have on my YouTube channel. And yeah, so data is getting inserted properly. There's no problem with that. Now let's try to comment this out, and let's try to print the data which you have inserted in the table. So print data from database. Again, this is a function, and what this function is supposed to do, if you read the name, the function is supposed to print the data from the database. So let's write the function down. This function down. Function name, and it is going to expect a argument connection object, and here again pass the connection object and print the data, right? So just Google it again, how to print data. PHP get data from database. Whatever you have some problem, just Google it. Just Google it. Select, yeah, this is it. So this is the one which I was thinking actually. This is what I need. So first let's copy these things here. I put this. No, I put this on it. Paste it, and instead of my guess like this, let's put it like this one because it worked last time. ID first name last name from my guess, result equal to connection query SQL. So this is assuming the connection is successful. If connection number rows greater than 0 means if there is more than one rows, means if there is some data in the database. So if there is some data in the database, output data to each row. So while row equal to result, fetch assoc means fetch the associate array. Associate array means there's a key value pair. For example, this is getting stored in row. So rows ID, then rows first name, then rows last name. Means for the ID there's some value, then the first name is a value, for last name is a value, and yeah, that's it. Printing all the first name last name for every single record, and let's see if this works or not. So name one, first name last name, name two, ID. Okay, ठीक है. Everything is working perfectly. Couldn't fetch mysqli whatever. That's because okay, okay, the problem was I'm closing the connection in this function, and then I'm again trying to close the function in this line of code. But at this moment when I try to close this function, this object is getting destroyed and it's not available here. So that's the problem. So let's remove the connection that's closed from here. Let's indent things a little bit because I hate unindented code, and if you're a hardcore developer then you must be hitting unindented code as well. Okay, now okay, so things should work now. Okay, we're getting all the data from the database. Now, obviously, you can put in some constraints here, like for example, um, let's see the data first. Okay, as you can see, there are three L names which are repeated. So we can put in something here like where um, last name not like L name. Let's see if it works. Okay. So this is again a database command. So if you don't know database commands, well, you should probably see that. Well, what this does is select id first name last name from my guest, where last name is not like lname. What this means is for every last name which is like lname, it will discard that. We can also have some variations, like we can add percentage here, and all these things are there which um, you should probably study database to understand those things. It will not take much time, about 2 days of medium practice. You will understand most of the concepts there. Anyways, so it's going to this is the code to print the contents of the database. Okay, let's only just remove all this code. Okay, everything's been printed here. Fine. So we have the code to print data from database, insert data, and create table. We don't need create table at this moment anymore. So now let's do something. um, let's actually try to make a form. Try to make a form, and whenever the user clicks on submit, um, when the user clicks on submit, the data will be sent to the database, like what actually happens in most of the websites. So let's let's try to do that now. Okay, so let's remove all these codes here, and let's um, actually why not put this in a function as well. Let's name it connection close. Let's write the function. Oops. Okay, that was the function. I remember again. Yeah, close. Yeah, that's right. And it has to be passed an object, connection object here, and another connection object has to be passed here. Okay. Uh, okay, good. Okay. So now let's try to make the table. I mean the form. So HTML doc type should be better. Yeah. What I was thinking is Sublime Text automatically uses the doc type. So I think why it's not coming and how to get it. Anyways, article. I like keeping things in article and then section, then div. That's better way of handling things later, because as the size of the code grows, you'll have problems handling things. Div, then form, and then let's put everything in a table. It will be more neat that way. Tr, td. First is going to be enter your first name, and the second column is going to be td input, type is equal input type is equal to, come on, input type is equal to text, name is equal to f name, and placeholder is going to be first name, and same has to be done for last name and email ID. So for last name, for email ID, so enter your last name, enter your email ID, and instead of f name, put l name here, and instead of first, put last, and again for f name, put email, and email ID, and let's see how this form looks. Okay, perfect. The first name, last name, email ID. Now let's put in some buttons here. tr ed, then input type is equal to submit, equal to submit, um, then value is going to be again submit, and do I need anything? I don't need reset at this moment, so let's leave reset. So yeah, this is it. Okay, so at this moment nothing will happen because I'm not told the program where to submit the things. So it form there are two fields and I don't remember them. So let's see. PHP form submit. Let's see if I can. Okay, I think I will find it. Form handling. Yeah, form action is equal to where you want to send the data, and method is whatever method you want. Okay, first there's two method. The two types of method: get and post. Get means the data will send in the URL, and post means data won't be sent in the URL. So the viewer cannot see what data is getting sent, but it does not mean that it is secure because there are applications which can see what data is getting sent. So if you are thinking of security point of view, then get or post doesn't really make sense. Think something in the terms of in lines of encryption. For the time being, I'm going to use post, and action is going to be my file name, and it's going to be index.php. And yeah, so yeah, everything is perfect. Now, how to get the data? It's going to be written here, maybe validation. Let's see. No, okay, it's not given here, but I know how it's done. So it is if dollar underscore post means there is some post request, then echo there is some post request. I'm displaying this lines of code in just 1 minute. Else echo no post request, and let's try to run this code and let's see how it works. And so no post request, that's what we expected. Let's give some data here and submit. There's some post request. So what this does is if dollar underscore post means this line will tell us if there has if there is some post data. In our code, it means if the form has been submitted once. So echo there is some post data, so it's some post request, and let's try to get the data which the post gives us. So there are three things which the post gives us, and that is f name, l name, and email. So dollar f name is equal to dollar underscore post, and the name which we had given is if name. This if name is the name in our table. First name is f name, so this is a name. For last name is l name, email is email. So if name is this, and l name is equal to dollar underscore dollar underscore post, and then l name, and email is dollar underscore come on, what's underscore, yeah, underscore post, and email. So we got all the three data. Hopefully, theoretically, we should be getting the data. Let's try to print and see if we really getting the data or not. So echo if name is equal to dollar f name. Let's see if it works. L name is equal to dollar l name. Email is equal to dollar email. Then break. Run this. No, not like this. Let's run this like this. No post request. Put some first name, put some last name, put some email, submit. Get some post request. First name is this, last name is this, email is this. So our form is working perfectly. There's no problem with our form now. Let's remove this line. Instead of deleting, just comment it out, because you may be needing this code later when you're trying to debug your code, because inevitably there are errors going to be popped in your code. It's fine. Okay, so we got all the three data. Now what I do is we have to insert this data in the table. So it's very simple. This here function here to insert data in a table, and that is insert data. So let's call this function insert data, and we can put the data in the database. We'll accept four parameters: the connection object, then first name, then last name, and then email. So in this way, we can get all the data from the database. I'm so sorry. We can insert data in the database. Okay, instead of printing it, let's echo here saying um, your field, your data is entered in the database. Let's run this and see if it works. First name, let's say code. Last name works. Let's say code 14 works. 21 email ID code works, and let's submit it. Okay, there's some error here in line 11. Let's see what the error is. I made a spelling mistake. That's the reason. And another error, line 11 again. Okay, yeah. Run this. Let's save it. Let's not save it. Code. Once again. Did I not save it? Code 14. Last name was 21, and email ID code was 01, and submit. Undefined variable f n a m. Oh my god, why do I keep making these spelling mistakes? Successfully inserted data in the table. So what this means is the data is inserted in a table, and even after inserting data in the table, this form is coming. Well, that's because this is how PHP works. Like it works step by step, and every step is executed. So after this line is executed, your HTML part is again executed. So what's actually done in practice is instead of in the action, instead of putting in the same file here, you usually put the database code in another file. So that's better actually. But for our situation, it works. It somehow works. So let's change the things. Let's put it in actually put it in a new file. create the new file, and let's name it handle data. Why not? Handle data.php. And in the index.php, in the index.php, in the index.php, change the name to handle data.php. I made a mistake here. Mistake is that if remove all this code from this um, file and put it in handle data.php, because this is going to be using all these functions and not index.php. So let's see how this works now. Index.php, enter your first name. The first name is going to be code 15. Then last name is works 22. Let's say email address is the same, and submit. As you can see, we've been taken to another file now, handle data.php, and the data is getting inserted. So this is what you probably have seen in most websites, and there can be a go back button and where you are taken back to the original page, or this may be I don't know, this is up to you what you can do with it. So this is basically how to handle data in PHP, how to create a connection. So the basic step is connect.in.php. It's very simple. Connection is equal to new mysqli server name, username, password, database name. That's as simple as it gets. So this is all for this video. Probably I will make a part of this video where if I can think of some advanced operations, I will probably talk about those. But for now, thank you guys, and take care and keep coding.